It's Patrick Hutzel from IntensiveCareHotline.com, where we instantly improve the lives for families of critically ill patients in intensive care so that you can make informed decisions, have peace of mind, real power, real control, and so that you can influence decision making fast, even if you're not a doctor or a nurse in intensive care. This is another episode of Your Questions Answered, and in last week's episode I answered another question from one of my clients. And the first question from my client Richard last week's episode was, my mother is in intensive care and is unable to come off the ventilator, is giving sedation and doing a tracheostomy going to help her. You can check out last week's question by clicking on the link below this video. And if you are watching this on YouTube, click on the link below this video. That'll get you to our website where you can access previous episodes as well as today's episode of the one-on-one consulting and advocacy session. So in this week's part 4 episode of Your Questions Answered with Richard, I want to answer the next questions from Richard as part of my one-on-one consulting and advocacy service. Richard's mother suffered from a fractured bone due to a fall. His mother then was transferred to intensive care due to a cardiac arrest and also had a tracheostomy during her stay in ICU. So this week's question is, the ICU team is giving my mum too many sedatives. Are they slowly killing her, or are they trying to help her to wean off the ventilator? You can also check out previous one-on-one consulting and advocacy sessions with me and Richard by clicking on the relevant links below this video. So here is an email exchange between me and Richard. I write to Richard, "Hi Richard, here are more thoughts and questions about your mum's situation. First, what was her neurological condition before she deteriorated in the last few days? Why was she not asked or informed about the commencement of the morphine infusion? Next, ventilation. If your mother weighs around 118 kilograms, her ventilation volume per breath should be around 7 to 10 mils per kilo. That should be a minimum of 826 mils per breath. In the pictures you have sent, her volume has been between 350 to 450 mils per breath. With my other comments about increasing pressure support and her breaths per minute, and in order to get carbon dioxide or CO2 down, the volume per breath has to be appropriate to the body weight. Morphine and midazolam are often used to quote-unquote palliate or even euthanize a patient. The minute they stop ventilation, your mother will die on all those high doses of morphine and midazolam at the moment. Midazolam and morphine are also used in an induced coma. Considering your comments in your email, they haven't been open and transparent." So here is what Richard writes. "Hi Patrick, thanks for the chat and resending the email for recap with helpful advice and thoughts. Could you just send me a quick, short, simple email whenever convenient in your own words, something along the lines, on such and such date, I spoke with Dr. Smolensk and he informed me, blah, 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 sedation implemented, administered to manage, improve ventilation, etc. for patient Gabrielle Fox." So what Richard is referring to here is really about my conversation that I had with the intensivist that I documented in the previous one-on-one consulting session with Richard. And again, you can access that by clicking on the links below this video so you get the context of the communication. Now, Richard writes further, "I've just been reading up on Alfie Evans. Thanks for highlighting his case in the UK. I can relate to some aspects. I will be thinking of him and his family, and I will say a prayer or two. Some thoughts. Without knowing the details of Alfie's case, but as you indicated, the option of going to Italy or Germany being denied seems both sad and restrictive to me. For family to have to deal with high-pressure legal court case and at the same time the ICU stay and imminent possibility of the death of a child, this must be almost unbelievably tough and stressful. I found some of the media and public feedback comments very interesting in terms of thinking, opinion and knowledge, selective and or limited as it may be regarding Alfie's situation. Perhaps someone can write an informative news educational article along the lines of what you described in Germany with intensive care at home to show what is possible, and for this get public mainstream coverage and debate. Maybe one day. Thank you, from Richard. So here is my response to Richard. Hi Richard, here is also my summary after talking to the ICU doctor, and also thank you for your reports. So for example, the arterial blood gases deteriorating could be a sign of infection, but we can discuss later when we get on the phone again. I have seen your latest images. They have now changed the ventilation settings and she's not breathing spontaneously any longer. The machine is doing all of the work. Probably a side effect of the morphine, and the CO2 or carbon dioxide is still high. They could bring that down by increasing her breaths per minute and by potentially ceasing morphine. They could also increase pressure support. It looks like she's on 4 of morphine at the moment, but the image with the infusion is not 100% clear. The infusion with 2 mils per hour was insulin yesterday. Unless they have seized it, it might still be insulin. The doctor, from my perspective, hasn't been truthful if he says ventilation shouldn't be withdrawn whilst he's increasing morphine. The morphine in high doses will eventually kill your mother if they don't stop it, especially if the kidneys are starting to fail. They are basically trying to euthanize her without telling you that specifically. Whilst they tell you they continue medical treatment, they put her to sleep, in fact, on the other end with morphine and midazolam, and that will eventually kill her. I questioned the doctor why they wanted to withdraw treatment, and he said that there are no plans to withdraw treatment and that sedation was only started to improve ventilation due to her infection. According to him, this was a temporary measure and he would expect improvement going forward. My gut was telling me at the time that he wasn't truthful. Starting sedation in form of morphine and midazolam is usually either used to A. sedation and optimize ventilation, and, as I mentioned before, in end-of-life situations to basically hasten death and euthanize a patient. Given that the next day your mum quote-unquote crashed, I believe they were preparing for end-of-life the day prior. The truth will be in the medical records. We can look at them for you or with you, and we can get the answers you're looking for so you can get closure. I would be delighted to help you with a review of the medical records once you have access to them. We can talk about this in more details when we get on the phone a bit later today. We'll be busy but ready and available when you need me. So the rest of this one-on-one consulting session is actually a transcribed phone consultation with me and Richard. So if you want to read that, please scroll down below this video where you can read the one-on-one consulting session with me and Richard from a phone call. And if you're watching this on YouTube, once again, please click on the link below this video so you can access the rest of the one-on-one consulting session and the dialogue by clicking on the link. So, how can you become the best advocate for your critically ill loved one? How can you make informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence quickly whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care? You will get to that all-important feeling of making informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence when you download your free instant impact report now by entering your email below. In your free instant impact report, you will learn quickly how to make informed decisions, get peace of mind, real power and real control, and how you can influence decision making fast whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. Your free instant impact report gives you in-depth insight that you must know whilst your loved one is critically ill or is even dying in intensive care. Sign up and download your free instant impact report now by entering your email below. In your free instant impact report, you will learn how to speak the secret intensive care language so that the doctors and the nurses know straight away that you are an insider and that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care. In your free report, you will also discover how to ask the doctors and the nurses the right questions. Discover the many competing interests in intensive care and how your critically ill loved one's treatment may depend on those competing interests. How to eliminate fear, frustration, stress, struggle, and vulnerability even if your loved one is dying. You will get 5 mind-blowing tips and strategies helping you to get on the right path to making informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence in your situation. You will get real-world examples that you can easily adapt to your critically ill loved one's situation. How to stop being intimidated by the intensive care team and how you will be seen as equals. You will get crucial behind-the-scenes insight so that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care and how you need to manage doctors and nurses in intensive care, and it's not what you think. Thank you for tuning into this week's Your Questions Answered episode, and I'll see you again next week in another update. Make sure you also have a look at our blog section for more tips and strategies, or simply send me an email to support@intensivecarehotline.com with your questions. Also, have a look at our membership site intensivecaresupport.org for families of critically ill patients in intensive care. Or you can call me, find international phone numbers on the top of the website. Also, have a look at our ebook section where you get more ebooks, videos and audio recordings, and where you can also get one-on-one consulting and advocacy with me via Skype, over the phone or via email by clicking on the relevant tabs on the top of the website. This is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecarehotline.com, and I'll see you again next week in another update.